Good evening, friends. Uh, Welcome back to another session. Now, today's session, the video I have once we have gone through, you have already seen through that this is basically a kind of a planning tool. If you are getting into the uh, business of sanitation, especially wastewater management, fecal sludge management, you need to plan yourself very concretely to understand what you will do, step by step, how you will go. Who are the people who should be involved? What is the basic information you need to require initially from the fields, and then how you calculate the different capacities of the treatment plants, units, etc. And what should be the monitoring regime. This is what we would be understanding, and that there are some freely available tools in the web which often we are not aware of. People have worked around the globe and then they have come up with very easy to use tools, something like what we do in our mobile apps. So it's very easy tools. It's just some few basic information and you actually get the bulk of the calculation which you would otherwise you would have to do it on a pen and paper, spending hours with the calculators. So that is what we are here for, to understand. Of course, using these tools needs a lot of practice, a lot of time, a few bit of amount of time to be dedicated, understand the tool, and then of course a bit of practice to put the exact form of the data and get the kind of output you want, exact query you need. And that is what here we have a sector expert, Ms. Sujaya Rathi, for. She would be taking us through these tools. One is the FSM toolbox. She will take us through step by step through this FSM toolbox. And then, of course, in the later part of her talk, she would also talk about a little bit about the shit flow diagram to understand the sanitation situation, mainly fecal sludge management situation in your ULB. If you want to know what is the situation, how much of it is safely managed and how much of it is unsafely managed, and based on that, you can actually plan it. Having said that, I am handing it over to Ms. Sujaya Rathi. Sujayaji, you can take over and you can put in your questions in the chat box, and then maybe after your talk, we would go into a kind of a discussion on question and answers and discussion to clear the clarifications. Thank you. Over to you, Ms. Sujaya Rathi.
Thank you, Rajeshi. Good afternoon, good evening to all of you. Thank you very much for attending the session. And I see it is from all over the world, from Africa, from Bangladesh, from Nepal, of course, from, I think, AIT.
Jadi, we have participants from 11 different countries.
Oh, great. I mean, it is great to see that and the outreach of this program. And thank you. And it's my privilege to take you through the toolbox. And first thing, I just wanted to understand before I start, anybody here has sort of heard about the FSM toolbox, shit flow diagram? With a show of hands, can you just in your chat box that we have, the reactions section, can you just raise your hand just to understand? Or you can just tell out loud. That's also fine. So I can get to hear some people. Anybody heard about the SFD, the FSM toolbox?
Yeah, there you have a few answers. One from chat. In a chat box, there are a few people like Santosh and all they have said. Then there is a participant, Dilruba. Then we have Anisha, who have said that they have raised their hands and probably they are a bit aware about it.
Okay. Some of them are familiar with SFD, but yet to know about the FSM toolbox. Great. Okay. So As we start, I think if somebody could share the presentation, what I will talk about is first is why do we need the toolbox, and a little bit of how did the toolbox sort of originate, or very briefly about that, and then what basically the toolbox does and does not do. So let me start with that. Jyotsna, if I can have the presentation,
We are
please.
doing
Shashi
it.
Priya, are you doing
Devasis.
that favor of
Yeah, she's
sharing the
doing it.
slides?
And I think what I will do is I will talk about one tool and stop, and then we can have questions, because too many tools together, I know you will all get, muddled up. So one tool at a time, any questions, and I think we'll go. And please feel free to write down your questions. We can answer it later if we have not asked before. So that's there. Okay, yeah, next. So first I will talk about why FSM Toolbox. And the FSM Toolbox basically has functions which would be, assessment of FSM. Number two, it also helps you plan. So you have some planning tools, and it also helps you learn and contribute. All the learnings, a lot of globally, uh, global case studies, global guidelines, a lot of these are available. And that is also a one-stop shop for any FSM related matter. Next. So as you all know, I think you've gone through this course. Just to recap, we are defining sanitation as access to and use of facilities and services for safe disposal of human waste. There are three ways we can do it. One is when you have an on-site sanitation and you have a very safe burial, and you have a end use or a reuse of that, and it is disposed safely, not in connection or not any connect to any human or any other living organism. So that is one way when you have an on-site system. Next, which is treated and disposed in the location it is generated. Next is when you have a centralized treatment plant where you have from your bathroom, for your water closet, it goes to a sewer network, and then it gets treated, and it is the treated water is disposed carefully. Next, and the third part, which is the most common in our region, is that the feces is stored temporarily and then emptied and transported to a treatment site off-site. However, the chain that we're talking about, the containment, which is our septic tank, pit latrines, whatever it may be in different parts of the world, then it needs to be safely emptied so that there is no human touch, the human safety of the in the environment, and also the safety of the workers who are sort of emptying it. Number three is should be transported safely in a truck which does not leak, which has the right kind of accessories to transport. Then full treated. So the transport, when it's transported, it also should be taken to the treatment plant. Often we have seen in our countries, and I think is that it is left or it is thrown into gutters, canals, rural areas. We see it thrown into fields. So it is not safely treated. So it needs to be treated and then reused if possible. There are a lot of reuse possibilities in agriculture as biochar, And there are others which are we see all over the world. There are in aquaculture sometimes, and there are other methods of reuse. So what we are talking about is this value chain, sanitation value chain. How can we plan it right? If any part of this chain is dysfunctional or the linkage is broken, then we do not get the desired safe sanitation that we are looking for, right? So if it is contained very well, it has a septic tank which is designed well, it is contained very well, but it is not emptied, then what happens is it loses its primary treatment functions, and the water that or the supernatant that comes out is also gets filled, and so the treatment stops. So that is one. If it is not emptied properly, this is the issue that might come up. Next is the transport. If it is not transported or treated, it is just thrown into fields, then also we have issues. So very, very important that each part of the value chain is addressed, not in terms of infrastructure, but the other enabling environment around it needs to be proper. For example, laws, bylaws, staffing, capacity, safety, dignity, all of these comes, and that is what we are talking about as citywide inclusive sanitation, where every part of the city needs a proper, safe sanitation system. Next, please. So how do we plan for FSM? Please go on clicking. One is we have to know who are the stakeholders who are involved in the ecosystem, the FSM ecosystem. What are their priorities? What are the challenges? Do the do they have the responsibilities mandated? Do they have the staffing? Do they have the budget to carry on their work? So we need to understand whether there is even a mandate for, say, fecal sludge management. So, and how is it prioritized by the city or the country? Now, once we know that, we need to understand the situation of your city. And we just saw the shit flow diagram. That's an excellent tool to visually understand what is wrong with your city. Which part of the value chain is broken, where the interventions need to happen. So a situational assessment needs to be done. Once we know that, we identify which parts of the value chain is broken, and we design interventions and the management, the capacity, institutional arrangements as well, regulations around how to make that work. Then we of course look at and then we have an implementation plan. So this is the broadly the planning mechanism that we follow for planning sanitation. I know a lot of you are involved in this, and this might be repetitive, but I still want to emphasize two things: that we are not only planning for infrastructure, we are also planning for the governance around it. That is very, very important for sustaining the implementation of the infrastructure that we built. Because many a times what we have seen in many of our countries, in Bangladesh, in India, is that we have built capacities of infrastructure. But later, the capacity, the human capacity has not been there. The resource, the money, the funding to keep that going has not been there. So if we need to sustain the infrastructure that we build, we need, and the service delivery that we envisage, we need to have these all in order. Next. So why do we need the FSM toolbox? So the toolbox, there are some things that the toolbox does and some things that the toolbox does not do. So let me emphasize what it does first of all. It has a lot of tools which help you plan and assess first and then plan your interventions. However, let me reiterate, however, it is not a design tool. It is a planning assessment tool which gets you started on the way to FSM planning. So it shows you the approaches. It has questionnaires that you can use either on the web portal, or you can use it as a questionnaire and create your own survey. So it has a lot of functions which we will see as we go forward. So it is a very it has a lot of tools, a lot of features which might be useful for you in your work that you do. Next. So yeah, next. Yeah, so there are basically three things, as I mentioned earlier. One is assessment. What is the infrastructure gap that you have? And number two is, what is the enabling ecosystem? What is the condition of the enabling ecosystem? Do you have the policies? Do you have the mandates? Do you have the money? Do you have really the perspective or priorities for inclusion? How are you dealing with slums, etc.? Then planning. How do you plan for your FSM without your stakeholders? So you have to identify your stakeholder. Which are the stakeholders which are very important, who are very who make a for whom it will make a difference? Infrastructure, of course, as I mentioned before, and also business models. So there is a module which helps you look at different business models which might be suitable for you, or you can look at case studies and develop your own business model. So it is also a learning model as well, module as well. And third is the learning, where we have lots of case studies all over the world, policies, manuals. So if you're starting FSM planning right now, there are ready reckoners from all over the world. So you really don't have to even formulate a policy. You can just fine tune it to the context. There are, SOPs, there are guidelines, there are operation and maintenance manuals for FSTP plans. So there are a lot of things which are readily available. And of course, there are videos of case studies, things that interventions that people have done all over the world. And also here, once you have done something, you can share it as well. And so the toolbox gets populated and enhanced by every contribution of you. So next. So this is the FSM toolbox, and if you want, you can log in to that. But it might be a little distracting, but let me just go through it, and maybe we will give you a time to sort of play with it a little bit later. So this is the FSM toolbox. It offers you the suite of tools to understand the ecosystem, FSM ecosystem. And ecosystem means infrastructure as well as enabling environment. So next. So I think, can you please
You want to play the video, ma'am?
Yes, please.
Citywide Inclusive Sanitation, CWIS, means that everybody benefits from adequate sanitation service delivery outcomes. Human waste is safely managed along the whole sanitation service chain. Effective resource recovery and reuse are considered. A diversity of technical solutions is embraced for adaptive, mixed and incremental approaches, and on-site and sewerage solutions are combined in either centralized or decentralized systems to better respond to the realities found in developing country cities. Fecal sludge management, FSM, which is the collection, transport, and treatment of fecal sludge from pit latrines, septic tanks, or other on-site sanitation systems, is one essential component of citywide inclusive sanitation. The FSM Toolbox offers a suite of tools, guidelines, case studies, videos, and other resources to assist practitioners and policymakers to assess their performance on managing fecal sludge and formulate strategies for infrastructure improvements, institutional reforms, and financial mobilization for sustainable and effective FSM. The FSM Toolbox has two main product features. The first is the FSM Assessment Tool. This tool is designed to assist users to undertake a 360-degree self-assessment of the status of FSM in the city and generates a city FSM score supported by a detailed assessment report, which serves as a starting point to identify areas demanding greater attention. So, if you're looking to generate a citywide baseline on fecal sludge management and identify areas for improvement, we encourage you to use the assessment tool. The second product feature is a planning toolkit, which offers a suite of tools that is designed to assist users with questions such as, what is the most appropriate treatment technology for my city? Or, how many desludging trucks does my city need? Every product has a data-light rapid version and a survey-based geospatial version called the FSM Pro series. FSM Pro versions of the tools are powerful geospatial tools that allows you to collect, track, plan, and visualize all your data and your decisions geospatially real-time. The platform has several attractive features and functions too. It allows you to save your data, generate attractive maps and infographics, and track your progress over time online. It also assists users on how best to collect the data through hints and suggestions. The platform offers a search-friendly library of resources on procurement templates, policy documents, and guidelines. The tools and resources are available in 4 languages, namely French, English, Lao, and Bangla. Let's get started.
So I think this is a good overview, sort of emphasizing what I told you earlier. So this is a tool which is available free, and you just need to sign in, and you can play with it. So I will just show you. Given the time, we cannot go, in depth. However, if there is a need for a in-depth interest and need for an in-depth training, we can have a follow-up later on. So let me just go through it. Jyotsna, please, can you go ahead? Yeah. So first is it's a very easy tool. If you have gotten to fsmtoolbox.com, you can see, you can either, if you've used it before, you can just sign in, and otherwise you sign up for it. Next. And as we said, there are these functions we have where you execute, learn, and contribute. So execute is where you do the assessment. Next. Yes. Yes, you do the assessment and you do the planning. So this is how, these are the main features of the FSM Toolbox. And this is how you sign up. I think it is very self-explanatory. Next. So in the execute, first we look at assessment. And there are 3 types of assessment you can do. One is the shit flow diagram, which you saw the video. I will show it to you how you access it. how you get information about it, what are the data needs, etc. Then is a city service delivery assessment, which is what is the enabling condition of the city. That is also there, which is also a list of questions where you assess the degree of advancement or not there at all. You assess that, and that is one. And then you have an integrated, where you have infrastructure as well as enabling environment. You can assess it together. Next, please. Any questions in that? Have you all logged into the FSM toolbox? Can you? If there are any questions, yeah.
Yeah, maybe we could do the practice later, or do you want to make it parallel?
No, I just wanted them to just look at it. Just everybody knows the page. I mean, that's most important. FSM toolbox. I hope everybody has found the page, and yes. Next, yeah. So we are looking at the assessment part first of all. Next. So assessment first is the shift flow diagram. So the shift flow diagram, when you click on it, it will take you to one option is that it will take you to the SFD Susanna platform. Click on next. Yes, this where you can create your own SFD with the graphic generator, what is the data, etc. That is one way. So this is how you access it. Number two. So these are the data requirements and sources for the SFD. It is available in the SFD manual. So what you basically are looking at in a SFD is what are the system types, what is the containment types that you have in your city. First, identify that. It could be through a survey, or it could be through, if you want to do a rapid assessment, it could be through talking to sanitary inspectors or some DPRs or master plan, or if it is the census is new, you can use also the census data, where you're from the containment, you have to trace it across the value chain from containment, emptying, transport, treatment, end use. You can look at it. You can always have also look at, have observations, small dipstick surveys to understand what's going on. This is the first step to understand what's going on. Next. So these are the SFD variables that you have. So all of them might not be needed in your city. Wastewater contained, it could be contained in a centralized offsite treatment plant. Wastewater is not contained. It is not delivered. It is not delivered. It is not on site. It is not contained. It not emptied. It could be not contained and not emptied. So there could be a lot of variations, and you might be choosing some of them from based on your city. And of course, if there is open defecation. So some of this is an example that was for Agra, where they used these sanitation technologies that was pertinent to their city, the city of Agra in India. So they had piped sewer system where the sewer network, the user interface is directly connected to a sewer network, and that's 42% along with the floating population, because there is a high floating population in Agra because it is a tourist spot. Then septic tank, which is connected to a open drain or a storm sewer. Other systems which is going directly to the ground, some pit latrines with slab, some without slab. Then there is Service latrine, sometimes they don't know where, so that is also an option. Public latrine is either connected to the sewerage or it is connected to an open drain. And of course, there is some percentage of open defecation. This was in 2015. So these are things that you identify through, again, I will reiterate, through different sources. It could be census, it could be observation, it could be sanitation inspectors who are on the ground, who know the areas and the types of containment center, and also observation following the flow of the excreta. Next. So SFD has a matrix which looks like that, where on the left-hand side, you will see the different types of containment systems. And then on the right-hand side, you go from the left to the right. Right is where it is getting transported to. That is where, so in Agra, it has one, if you look at it, it has one is going to a centralized sewer. Some of it is going to the open drain or the storm sewer. Some of it is going to the open ground. Some of them they don't know. And there is open defecation. So these are the various data that was relevant for Agra, and this is what they filled in the matrix. Next is the option 2. So this is the process which is the same whether you do it in the SFD Susanna platform or you do it in the next option, which is in the FSM toolbox itself. Next. So there is one, there is a questionnaire which you can download to understand what is the data requirement that is needed for carrying out a SFD. Next. So these are the data requirements for a basic SFD. So it would talk about, as we mentioned, I think there is something, somebody's writing on it. I don't know.
There's some annotation going on. We'll clear it.
Don't worry. Yeah, that's okay. So it basically gives you the questions needed to fill out the matrix. So different types of that. Next. Can you go back? So for these questions, as you saw the platform, it is in a matrix form where the left side you have the containment systems that is relevant for the city. And as you go from left to right is where that containment and the excreta from the containment, where is it flowing to? So that is what the matrix is about. Next. Identify, these are some of the questions that are there, which you will find in the FSM toolbox, which is also the same in the SFD SFD portal by Susanna. Next. So these are questions you can fill up in the toolbox itself. Next. So this is how it looks like. As I said, you have to play with the toolbox to get the real feel of it. Next. So these are part of the questions that, so first you can take a printout of the questionnaire, try to get the answers from whatever, from key informant interviews, from focal group discussions, from some surveys, whatever, and you collect the data. Then you come back to the toolbox or to the SFD portal, put in that, and you will get your report. Next. This is the graphic that you get. This is a very, I'm very sorry for the sound background. Can you just hold on 1 minute? So this is a graphic which is a very powerful graphic where you see the green which is safely managed. It is being emptied, it is being transported safely, it is being treated. However, a lot of it, like 46% here, is being not being sort of treated. It is going to the environment, either at the local level or the neighborhood level or at the city level. So it is impacting us at different levels. So this is a hugely powerful tool, one, to look at, to first start the conversation. It has, we have seen case studies where the SFD, this graphic has been the, the turning point for the city to look at fecal sludge management, which they never thought that they had to do. So this is a very powerful graphic for the, to first talk to the politicians, to the bureaucrats, and it has a report associated with it, which talks about the other stakeholders who are involved and other key interventions that are needed to do that. So it basically points out where the chain is broken, right? So here we see in Agra that on-site sanitation, nothing is being emptied and transported and treated well, other than some part of it which is being delivered to the treatment plant. So a large part of the city is not having safely managed sanitation. So this gives a very good idea about the only a part of it is getting. So we need to do something else. We need to take care of them. So what are the solutions? Where do we start? Do we start at providing emptying facilities regularly? So those are interventions that will come up as part of your plan. Now, how do we ensure that people who are emptying it are also safe during emptying, right? Do they have the PPEs or the safety gear to empty it, right? So how do we think about everything as part of the value chain? So this is a very powerful graphic that has been used by many countries, many cities all over the globe. And if you would see the SFD website, sfdsuzana.org, that there are many SFDs which are much more detailed. So there are different versions of the SFD. One is a Quit Rapid, which is a light version. You can also have an intermediate or a very comprehensive version. And as you can understand by the names, the data requirements will also be much more intense for the comprehensive one. So so depending on the purpose of your and the priority of the city, different types of SFD can be done. So for example, if you're just starting the conversation, a very light SFD can serve the purpose. However, if you're going to really get into planning and detailing of the interventions, then a comprehensive SFD might be much more useful. Next. So basically, this is what the SFD graphic is interpreting, that you have offsite sanitation, you have on-site, and you have no sanitation, that is open defecation. And you have the service chain across from left to right. And we are seeing what off-site sanitation, what part of off-site sanitation is totally treated, and what percentage of population is dependent on a sanitation system that is on-site, and what percentage of that is getting treated or which is going into the open. Next. So, of course, I think very clear, the red and the green. The red is, of course, your that is not treated, and the green is which is safely treated. Next. So, of course, as I said before, it is an overview. It highlights the issues, and of course provides some of the, you understand where the linkages are broken, and it has you can design your interventions, and it is, I reiterate, excellent advocacy tool. And also, for example, in Agra 2015 this was done. Now if it is done again, there is a lot of interventions done there. Now if you do the SFD again, it can also be a monitoring tool to see the difference between 2015 and 2023, for example. So it is an excellent communication tool, advocacy tool, monitoring tool, if it is used well. Thanks. Next. So yeah, a question. I think it is pretty clear. What does the red and green indicate? What does the red indicate? Any answers?
Safely managed and unsafely managed.
Yes, it's obvious, but yeah. So
I'm
it's,
sorry.
yeah, it's so easy to understand. Anybody who sees this will get a understanding that too much of red is just that we are in a very bad situation, right? So this is a very, very powerful tool, I think, once you get the data. Next. Next, yeah. So regarding the SFD, any questions? Of course, we cannot go into the tool right now because of time constraints. But of course, you can reach out once you start maybe finding the tool useful. There are some questions I can see.
Yes, a couple of questions on the chat, ma'am.
Yeah, private
one-
vendors. Yes. Yes, I know it is very much applicable to municipality, and also for the private vendors, because they know where to service. They can find their markets, right? I think that is it's a you know, as you use the tool, a lot of data is there, so lot of users or stakeholders can be benefited from this. I think the tool cannot address the safety for sanitation workers. However, that is a different, regulation, and the SOPs need to be in place to do that. This is not what a tool, but it is one of the interventions, very important. Mr. Raman has asked whether kind of tool for waste management. I think this is a like a Sankey diagram, and I would think Bangladesh. Are you from Bangladesh, Mr. Rahman?
Yes, madam.
Yeah. So I think the SAN dashboard that is there, they are trying to do something for solid waste as well, for this, for similar to this. So yeah, it is a very, very useful tool to understand where your interventions are needed and where it's collapsed, right? Yes, Ms. Farzana, yes, waste flow diagrams are being done in Bangladesh. The SAN dashboard is a great example where we're trying to incorporate the SFD as well as the waste, the solid waste part of.
Ms. Farzana, hand is raised. So do you want to
Yes.
share anything?
Farzana.
Yes, thank you for giving me the floor. Yeah, already our teacher told us that Bangladesh is, if all of us, you can visit www.sandboard.gov.bd. There is the sanitation dashboard, and there are SFDs for 64 towns there. And
Yes.
already we have started, besides sheet flow diagram, we are preparing waste flow diagram for 50 municipalities, and I hope very soon those will be added to our sanitation dashboard, and after the reviewing, I hope those will be added to the Sushana site as well. Thank you.
Great. Farzana, if you can just put the SAN dashboard link, that would be great.
Yeah, sure.
Yes, the risk assessment for ground data can also be done there, but yes, I think we'll talk about data, but this is, if we have the data, we can do this. Let us just assume we have the data now. Yes, next. So this is where we understand where infrastructure wise, where we have a problem. Next is where is the enabling, do we have the enabling environment for FSM? So this is what the city service delivery assessment tool will say. At the end of it, we are looking at service outcomes, right? Our excreta is treated well, it is emptied properly, the service that is given to the users and the workers is as good. So next. So it starts with your basic city information, and then it goes to the city service delivery assessment. Next. So there is a manual and the framework. You can look at that. The questions are also there in a questionnaire format. So if you can, if you want to, prepare earlier before putting into the toolbox, you can do that. And the questions are for sewerage network. Cities do have sewerage network and non-sewerage. So you have both. If the city has both, so you can answer the both set of questions. Next. So it talks about, say you see sewer, non-sewer, it talks about both. The questions are almost the same. So it talks about whether you have the policy, whether
Mr.
it is.
Jaya, there is a question from Prajwal in the chat box.
Yes,
He's
Prajwal.
saying, he's asking, is this a copy of SFT used for SWM?
Which one? Which one is it, Prajwal?
Prajwal, can you come back?
Posted a picture in the chat box and he was asking that.
Sorry, I have just put a very example that we did in Anugula, I think, where we use it for SWM. So the municipalities engagement in solid waste management in terms of SFT.
Okay. So Prajwal, so this is some sort of a waste flow diagram that has been done, right? And Bangladesh has also been doing, so different variations. The concept is the same, right? Is about where is the problem. So going back to the city service delivery assessment, I will call it as the CSDA. Here is where, can you just click next? So here for every question, we have 3 options to put. One is that policy is there. It is, everybody knows it and it is available. It is being implemented. Then point 5 is where it is there, but nobody knows. And it is just, as a guideline or without, it doesn't have any legal or a budgetary force. And the third one is 0, which is your policy is not available. So this is where you sit, you have key informant interviews, look at secondary sources next, and try to fill out whatever is needed for your city. whether there is a policy, whether there is the institutional roles are well defined, whether there is a regulation, mandate, how do all of these are there or not. This is a basically sitting with your municipal officers, the commissioner, sanitary inspectors, others, and sort of the planners, and getting these answered in a way. And you can also edit some of the questions to the need of your city. Next. So the assessment score is basically arranged around 3 pillars. One is enabling, that is the policy, legal, institutional environment is there. Next, there or not there, depending on the scores. Delivering, that it is enabling, it is already has those mandates, and it also has some of the resources and the processes to improve the sanitation. That is the next step. And then is sustaining, that it has the above, and also it has the funding, the capacity, needs, and everything for sustaining the services that is there. So these are 3 levels. Now you have to assess where your city is. So the CSDA questionnaire is there. Next, yeah, is there, which you can download and prepare for that. Next. I will address the questions later. Yeah, and I think we can play this. Is it? Just go next.
Not there now.
Next.
I have the video. I can play that one second.
Yeah, just go next. I think this is fine. So this is the city service delivery assessment questions are there. Next. Yeah. And this is how you fill it up. Either 1.5 or 0. I think you're going back. Next. Similarly for non-sewer sanitation. So at the end of the assessment, you will get this chevron looking red, green, or yellow. And this will determine whether where you are in your enabling or your developing framework. Can you click next? And if you click on the chevron, it will give you what needs to be done. You need to introduce regulation, or you need to do what. It will give you different action points in a way. Next. And here you can also view the detailed report. You can download it, you can share it, you can publish it, and you can also view other cities CSD. How are they doing? Maybe city of your size. You can look at it and see how they are doing, and you can then sort of look at what they are doing. So next. Next. So these are different things you can do with the report. Next. So this the report gives you additional checklist for what you saw when you click on the chevrons. They will also give you some basic, intermediate, and other consolidating action points, which are basically color coded. 6 sort of colors. One is foundations, basic thing that you need to do, actions which can have an immediate impact, and then developing the enabling environment, then developing the sewered and non-sewered, the immediate impact on the sewered and the non-sewered sanitation systems. Next. Systems and service delivery. So some sort of a table like this will come up. So you need to do the basic things. You need to look at the national level. You need to disseminate C-wise principles. you need to look at regulations. So it will come up with different action points that you can engage with the city. Next. So this is a CSDA, and any questions on that? So if I'm looking at a question from Mr. Bajracharya, Mr. Buddha Bajracharya, that you're conducting an intermediate or comprehensive SFD. That is very important, of course, but the SFD will give you what is the infrastructure needs. It will not give you what the enabling environment is. So the first part will give you, what sort of treatment facilities, what sort of, how many vacuum trucks will you need, or whatever maybe the infrastructure need. But CSDA, doing a CSDA will help you to identify the parameters or the policy, etc., how you can mainstream FSM and also sustain it in the long run. The policy mandate, who does what, do you have capacity, do you have money, do you have the are you autonomous to take decisions on non-sewer sanitation, etc. So all of these are very, very important, and without that, I don't think we can sustain FSM in the long run. So I think very important to do this CSDA. Does that answer your question, Mr. Buddha? Hello? Yeah, okay, good. Okay. Any other questions? I think in hilly and mountain regions, I think the data part is very difficult. However, I think a rapid SFD could be done, would actually give you an idea of how bad the situation is. And in fact, since it's a hilly region, it is a problem downstream, right? So the red arrows going down actually would not only the ground, it is basically the population downhill is also being affected. So it has a powerful message. I think it will be very important to do a SFD for hilly region. Yes, it will be all red. Yes. CSD, yes, CSD is, so as I said, only doing SFD and only doing CSDA will not suffice. So we have an integrated SFD and CSDA tool, so which you can do together. That will give you the holistic picture of your city or your area. Mr. Shah Nasir, does that answer your question?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay, okay. Yes, thank you. Next. So now we get into, I don't think we will have time for that, playing with CSDA, but I think it's pretty easy. So let me just go into the next planning tool. Josna, is it okay if we just go into the planning tool?
No, we can.
Yeah. Okay. So let us go to the planning tool next. Yes, next, yes. So in the planning tools, there are basically three, I would say 4 tools. One is the stakeholder management plan. How do you plan? Next is a infrastructure planning, and it has two parts. One is you look at the citywide, and also you have a regional planning tool. And then is a business model selection, where it really helps you to understand whether your city is suitable for a particular business model that we see. So yeah, next. So here we first talk about what are the different types of just 1 minute, stakeholders that you have, and you have the uh, I would say you can add more stakeholders. Like for example, I have added international NGOs. So if there are some stakeholders that is not mentioned here and very unique to your city, you can sort of add that. That is one. So this is basically looking at the typology. Next is next. And then by the different types of stakeholders, now you can sort of write the exact ministry, because that will differ from city to city, district, country, etc. So you can have more specific who is the national government, which is the stakeholder that you're dealing with, whether it's the Ministry of Public Works, like here, Ministry of Public Housing. In India, it is like Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs, or Ministry of Climate Change, whatever. So you can look at different national government entities that you're talking with, and with the person, if you have the contact of the person or there, you can add those. Then local government, who are the local governments? You can add new stakeholders here as well. Next. Next. So here what we do is, in the dashboard or in the toolbox, all the stakeholders that you've mentioned in the last step, what is their interest and what is their influence? Once you are working in the city, once you put those, whether it is interest is little, more, very much, and influence, like a politician or a mayor's influence will be very high, but his or her interest in this FSM might not be there. So how do you work with him or her? So you have to advocate, maybe take the SFD, maybe have more communication with that to understand. So how your strategy will be determined by which in the 4 quadrants that you see, where your stakeholders lie, in which quadrant. So the southernmost, I would say south west of the low interest, low influence, maybe those are the ones you might not have to prioritize as stakeholders, but the ones who have low influence but high influence, low interest but high influence, those are the ones maybe you need to sort of make them the champions. And how do you do that? That's your advocacy strategy, etc., that you have to work on. So this is a tool that helps you identify where the stakeholders lie in this ambit. Next. And yes, and then this also gives you the strategies for engagement. Next.
Should we play the video, ma'am, before we go to
you can, yeah, you can play.
Shashipriya, okay, you can play it also.
How to get the most of Grammarly free.
It's Kayla on behalf of Grammarly to tell you all about the free version of the best communication assistant in the world. Millions have chosen to go beyond.
The Stakeholder Assessment Tool is a visualization tool that assists users classify the key stakeholders in the FSM system based on their level of interest and influence. You may refer to this demo video at any point for guidance on how the tool works. Once you get started with the Stakeholder Engagement tool, it prompts you to fill out basic information about yourself and the city. To get started, first the users must select the broad types of stakeholders present in the city. Here, you have the option to add new stakeholder typologies or unselect groups that are not relevant to your city context from the given list. Once you do this, the tool prompts you to enter the type and names of the stakeholders under each of the typologies selected. You can also add a new type or subtype by clicking on Add New Stakeholder Type. Once you fill in the stakeholder details, the tool takes you to the dashboard, where you can rank each stakeholder on a 6-point scale, ranging from little, no interest or influence to crucial. Influence refers to the power a stakeholder has on decision-making process and the implementation of a project. Interest is basically the stakeholder's motivation level towards implementing the FSM project. As you continue rating the influence and interest parameters for the stakeholders, the tool populates the interest-influence matrix real-time and showcases the position of all stakeholders for a comprehensive view. Upon completion, the output is displayed with the completed interest-influence matrix of stakeholders. The tool also provides broad recommendations for all stakeholders and suggests engagement guidelines. A report summarizing the results, including the graphs and infographics, is automatically generated and is made available in a PDF format. The user may publish it on the FSM library for the benefit of other users, or share the same by email. Your outputs will only be saved on our library and made available publicly if you choose to make it available by clicking on Publish. We hope you found our demo video useful. For more information, please write to us, contact@fsmtoolbox.com.
Yes. We quickly go through any questions at this point. I think we'll go to the next, please. Yes. Can you just type, or just you can just tell some of those key sanitation stakeholders that you would consider? These are just food for thought, and thinking about community leaders, very important. Key stakeholders that you would say, I mean, maybe one from each country. Can you just share? CSOs, local community, yes. Next, anyone else? Yes, I think very, very important, elected councillors, private service, yes, local government, yes. Yes, so these are all, I think, administrative, yes, the CEOs, very important for them to be, yes, very important, sanitation worker network groups, because you have to have the conversation with them on tariff, on etc., on others. Yes, councils, very important. Other than without that legislation, government orders are not done. Excellent. Women development communities, yes. Self-help groups that we call in India, gender focal unit, yes. I think this is great. I think we have a very good this thing, pro-pure community. Yes, very, very, very important. So I think these are all of them, we cannot neglect any of them. We have to have a very holistic understanding of the stakeholders, because we are talking about city-wide inclusive sanitation. Yes, billionaire who has interest in. Yeah, sometimes in India, like high net worth individuals, as we call them, or corporate social responsibilities, people give money to do maybe a FSTP for or some part of the value chain. They can sort of city chamber. Yes, I think how do we get the industry involved? I think that is also very, very important, because they have a how can we incentivize them and see that there is a profit in here. Maybe they can find profit. They know their job. So yes, I think we've got it. Let us move on to the. Thank you very much for participating in this. Next, let us go to the planning. Any break needed? I think we are running this thing on time, so we will ignore the break, Jyotsna.
Yeah, we can continue, ma'am.
So we will start with the infrastructure planning, where next, please, next. Yes, where we have many tools here, where you have the option to select all of them, whether you want a community toilet construction, what do you need to do, what data you need to have, whether it's a public toilet construction, what data, and then the data will be, a survey form will be generated. You can track the survey, and also the generated report will be analyzed and generated. It could for vehicle procurement, treatment, and also cross utilization. Cluster level, can you have cluster level FSTP? How can you sort of, some cluster of cities can utilize one FSTP? So that also, how do you do that is also, the tool will also enable you to do that. Next. So you can select all of them, or you can also select some particular things that you might want. Next. Say public toilet. And so first you have to fill in the city information. Next. So the data collection instruments are basic city basic information like size of the city, growth rate, population. Then you have household. Then you have what you need from the household level. It could be a survey or a survey done earlier, part of a DPR done earlier. Community toilets. What are the data needed for community toilets? For residential, for non-residential buildings, for commercial, industrial, institutional buildings, what is the need? Public toilets. So you see, there is a range of data that is needed to across the value chain for you to do the toolbox. Next. So basically, this is how it happens. You prepare questionnaires, you determine a sample size, you train the enumerators, you collect the data, you have analysis and reporting. This all of you know. Next. And there are some assumptions that the toolbox gives you the liberty to set based on your country benchmarks, or benchmarks that you want to set for your city or the or the country. So what is the number of toilet seats per population, per male population, per female population? So in our country, CPHEO has some guidelines, but you might want to might want to do better than that. So you can the city can set their own goals and benchmarks. Next. And then there is the tool can help you run the survey, track the survey, and also have a report on the survey as well. Next. I think you can play. This is, I think, the video.
The Citywide Planning Tool is a powerful decision support tool designed to help you collect and analyze geospatial data to plan for infrastructure investments along the FSM value chain. You may choose to view the questionnaire before starting the process of filling out the data by clicking on the View Questionnaire button. You may refer to this demo video at any point for guidance on how the tool works. Once you get started, the tool prompts you to select the type of infrastructure improvements you want to undertake by clicking on the tab Planning Tools. The tool is designed to help you estimate the infrastructure gap and identify a menu of suitable responses to aspects such as household and community toilet construction, public toilet construction, the number of desludging vehicles to be procured, estimation of the treatment plant capacity needed in a fecal sludge treatment plant, ideal location and appropriate technologies for treatment, and cross-utilization of regional treatment infrastructure. Once you select the relevant planning areas, the platform prompts you to enter basic data about the city. The tool then takes you to the Plan tab, where you can engage your enumerators or field agents for the study. Once you enter their email ID, a mail is automatically sent to them asking for their consent to participate. Once they accept the invitation, a copy of the coded instrument is sent to the registered email address. For your survey, you may either choose to cover the entire city or a representative sample. To map the coverage of households and community toilets in the city and estimate gaps, a census-based approach is recommended. The tool then enables you to assign data collection tasks among enumerators for each type of survey, namely households, public places, communities, non-residential units, desludging operators, and treatment plants. An online data collection tool is automatically transferred to the field agents once they accept the invitation. In case you have opted for treatment infrastructure planning, the tool also has a section for you to enter details such as the location details, preference for treatment technology selection, and estimating co-treatment potential at existing STPs and utilization of existing FSTPs directly on the web platform. Once the survey begins, the tool is designed to help you track the survey progress in real time. To enhance your visualization experience, you may upload a map to the selected catchment and visualize the progress spatially. The tool also enables you to view the actual data collected based on various filters such as survey category and questions. The key assumptions used to evaluate the adequacy of infrastructure is presented under the tab Assumptions. You may choose to alter these assumptions based on your local context. Once you have completed the survey, the tool showcases the feasible technical options across each component of the value chain, as per the selected planning areas using detailed geospatial maps. The advantage of the citywide planning tool is that it not only tells you how many new infrastructure units need to be created, but also the specific locations where such infrastructure can be created. It also tells you when locations demand alternate interventions, for example, mobile toilets where permanent ones are infeasible. An infographic report summarizing the results, including maps, is automatically generated and made available in Microsoft Word format. The user may publish it in the FSM library for the benefit of other users or share it by email. Your outputs will only be saved in our library and will be made publicly available only if you choose to do so by clicking Publish. We hope you found our demo video useful. For more information, please write to us at contact@fsmtoolbox.com.
Okay. So we have different, as you saw in that, there are different algorithms running, and I have mentioned in the toolbox of the algorithms. Can we just go next? Next, please. So public toilets construction example, there is a process, and I have sort of put that there. What is the algorithm, so that you know how to really do it. You can also do it by your, by hand or by, other means, but this is the algorithm. This is the process by which you can identify. Next, you can do it through the tool. You can do it outside the tool. Next. So this is what it is. I will not go through, you can look, I think this will be shared. No, there is no Android version as of now. So this is an example where you have the floating population of the city as 5,000. You have total male population requiring public toilets as 2,000, and we have assumed that we need one seat per person per 40%, and that's how we have come up with the number of the toilets. It's very easy for the toilets, public toilets, and you can have different benchmarks. So that can be set up by the municipality. Next. So these are the different survey. So you can have the population, whether they have access to it. So these are all surveys that can be created within the questions can be created. Is all you can use the toolbox. Also, you can create a survey through the toolbox, which I'll show later at the last. Next. And this is how the stepwise the algorithm, I have kept it there. You can use it as when you do it either through the tools, or you can use the process and make your own process. That is also there. But this is the algorithm that has been made available to you. Next. Yes. So these are the technologies that are containment technologies that are available in different countries that we have looked at, and there could be new ones which could be also sort of looked into and added. Please, if you have any new technologies, we can add it, and then how that can also be one option where the users and the country partners can also decide on which containment systems is useful and relevant for them. Next. Vehicle procurement is depending, it depends on, these are the questions that you have to fill up. And then it is basically what is the urban population, what is the growth rate, what is the desludging frequency, because you need a demand for the number of trucks that you buy, because it is a big capital investment. Next. And as you saw, I think we can skip this. The different way that you can, the survey, the tool allows you to do survey and track the survey. Next. You saw it in the video. I think I will not repeat that. Next. Similarly, the desludging operator survey, very important to get the desludging operators, formal and informal, their inputs on the for planning your FSM. So for the vehicle procurement, of course, you have the containment unit household survey as well as the operator survey, two levels of service. Next. Any question there? So this is the algorithm, very, very stepwise. It should be very, self-explanatory. I really don't want to read it aloud. At the end of it, you get the number of small or large trucks that needs to be purchased by the city. That's your output. Next. So treatment capacity, then site selection. It has to be away from a water body, habitation, flood prone area, etc. So accordingly, it is decided. Next. So treatment technology selection, there are, so basically you have your pre-treatment, then you have these are the steps, solid liquid separation, dewatering, stabilization, then effluent treatment, and then secondary based on the use, tertiary also might be required. And these are the different parameters that are there, which are suited which will be relevant for the context, for the city, area, site. So there are different technologies that the may be looked into. Look next. There are a lot of technology manuals as well, which is there in the toolbox, and you can look at all of them and see what is relevant. Next. Next is a regional planning tool. Now, in some places, there are small cities which are located very close to each other. And if there is a STP or sewage treatment plant or a fecal sludge treatment plant in one of them, or they can cluster the operation of a fecal sludge treatment plant. Each of them, they might not have enough demand by themselves, but together they can cluster. And that is how you decide on that is enabled by this tool. Next. Next, yes. So you have to have a cluster profile. Next. Next. So when there is an existing sewage treatment plant, there can be a co-treatment. There is a co-treatment ready reckoner also available. For the FS, if there is a FSTP, the delta or the difference between the utilized capacity and the total capacity. If there is any gap between that can be utilized by a city which is in the neighborhood. And of course, you have to consider the distance, because your cost increases, the transport cost increases. So we usually say within a 15-20 kilometer radius is what is feasible for them to utilize the capacity of a unutilized capacity of a FSTP. So this is what the infrastructure planning regional tool does, is sort of helps you, guides you to do that. Next. Any questions on that? Yes, no Android version as yet. So if people start using it a lot more, then maybe one day we will have an Android version. Next. Yeah. Next is a FSM business model tool. So this is basically, this does not tell you exactly what business model you will be able to use, but it, okay, just to address the question, no, it does not do cost estimation. It is not a design, because the cost will depend on exactly what treatment technology and other factors as well, the site specific needs, etc. This is not a design tool, so the cost it does not. It helps you plan. So yes, so in the business model, there are a lot of business models all over the globe that we have put together in this toolbox, and you can see, you can filter it through the across the value chain, whichever you are interested in. That is one, you can do that. Next is feasibility assessment. Next is what sort of a what sort of a model that is already there, that has been done somewhere else. You see the list of business model that you can select, which you think might be useful for your city, and you can compare a couple of them, or you can just look at one and see whether that is feasible. For that also, you need some data that needs to be put in. Some of them are mandatory data, some of them are optional. So the mandatory data to make this decision whether the model is suitable for you or not is important. Next. So for example, this is a full private model versus a public FSM model. So the mandatory greens are the mandatory, the red is the mandatory variables and the green is the optional variables. So you have to fill up those questions in order to get the next step, which is next. These are the questions. Next. For different parts of the value chain, you have to put that. Different questions. So whether it is feasible or not, next. Yes. So, or you can compare both models, or you can look at one model and this thing. And it also gives you some recommendations on maybe look at some business models, and then you can come up with your own business. So this tool is basically directing you, guiding you with information that you need to have to decide. Is basically, this is a decision making platform for this. Next. No, the limitation of this tool that it does not do cost, because it is not giving you any answer. It is guiding you to decide a business model. There is also this knowledge products, as I mentioned before, that can be helpful to you. Next. I think we will just go on. I think the time is short, so this we can play the video. You can look at the video. It's in the toolbox, so you can look at it at your leisure. Next. So another thing, as I mentioned earlier, it helps you do a survey. So you can download the format, or which is just an Excel sheet, but you can also upload your own file, and you can also design your survey from the toolbox. Next. Any other questions? Any questions? Yes, so it does not do cost estimation, to answer Mr. Rahman and others. Here is Mr. Buddha also, that no, it does not do a cost estimation. This is the limitation of the tool. It is guiding. It is a guiding tool or a decision-making tool. Next. Or a decision support, I would say, tool. So I will go through this very quickly. It's learn. You have a lot of knowledge products and other resources. Next. All over globally, we have gathered almost 1,500 resources, and on asking you to also, sort of add to this. It helps it helps you, others, not to reinvent the wheel. Legislations, policy documents, reports, ideas, technologies, etc. Please go ahead and contribute. Next. And it is, you can filter it through stakeholders, through topics, through year, etc. Different ways you can filter it. So next. And also you can contribute. Very easy. What a type of documents, a little bit about the documents, what topic, which year, etc. Next. It's very easy. Easy. You can publish it. Yes. And the FSM toolbox, when you've maybe done some CSDA, SFD, whatever maybe, you have a dashboard. You will have your reports there to sort of look into it, update it, whatever you want to share it, etc. Next. Next. Can we have just the first question? The FSM Toolbox is a platform that is used to taking sanitation related assessments and planning infrastructure improvements. True or false? Can I have a chorus? Yes, it's true or false? Yes.
So if it's a true, you can give a thumbs up.
Okay.
If it's a true answer, you can give a thumbs up, and if it's a false, you can give a the other way.
Yeah. So I think
Indicate.
a lot of them have put it. Yes. The toolbox allows you to do a SFD, shit flow diagram, and also a city sanitation service delivery CSD assessment together, jointly. Two, yes or no? Yes or no? Okay, true. Okay. The citywide planning tools that the FSM toolbox has, it does not require a detailed survey. True or false? Yeah, Bhanushri saying false. Others agree? False. Yes, it does need data. There is only one appropriate business model that works. True or false? False, right. The FSM Toolbox has a knowledge repository on FSM from around the world. Yes or no? True. Yes. So good. And next. So before I leave, or before we think that, okay, now you've got a situational assessment, you've got your SFDs done, your CSDA done, you've got your infrastructure planning. Now what, right? So how do you use it? What is the user value? What is the USP here? Is that you can do policy advocacy, you can develop plans with it, you can implement plans with it as well, as deeper with the data that you have. And talking of data, let us just move to the next. Next. It's a small mentee. Do you think these tools are useful in the work that you do?
Should I share the
Yeah.
Shashipriya, please, can you bring down the screen? Let me share. So it's just a small Menti questions that we have put. So request you all to kindly a second. So maybe if you're using your laptop, I'll copy the link. If you're on the phone, then please scan the QR code. There's just quick 3 questions available. So the link is posted in the chat box. You can also scan the QR on the screen. Yeah.
And I would sort of ask you, if you're really interested and really want to go deep into the tools, write back to ASCII for, maybe an in-depth FSM toolbox or SFD training that you might need to do that. It is self-explanatory. The manual is also very useful. I think if you have the data, that's what it is. Okay.
So 21 responded and everyone say that it's very useful.
Okay. Good. Hopefully you will use it, and I really look forward for you to using it and having any inputs for maybe enhancing it also. Next.
We'll go to the next one.
So there is a lot of data, right, that we need to do all of this. So what do you think are the sources of data for this? So please please respond, and we will different types of sources that we need to engage for getting the data that we need for infrastructure planning, for the CSDA. Yes, census is good, but census is once in 10 years. So what are other data that we can use? Yes, primary survey. I'm just telling that these are things that you need to think about. Primary survey is of course useful. Cluster survey, basic sanitation survey, but these all need data. These all need time and money. Remember that as we are looking at enabling environments, how do we budget data? How do we understand data flows? Can we have data mainstreamed into our business processes? So these are things that I would like you guys to sort of think through. Because tools are there, we want them to use the tools. Yes, great. I think we've got a lot of these publications. Yes, secondary data is very useful. You don't have to reinvent the wheel if there's a project report just done a year ahead, right? Nothing changes in a year. So how can we be more smart about getting the data? I think that is very important. Next, yes, I think this is good. This is good. This is something that I would want to leave you with. I know there are challenges. We are all working on the field. There are challenges for data collection. So which are the data that you would think is most challenging? Next. Next.
I mean, this was a question.
You want to put it on? Yeah, that's fine.
People are typing in, I think.
Yeah, that's fine. Because we have a challenge. How can we address that? I think that is very important. And new ways of getting data, new innovations of getting data, smartly getting data, I think it will come from this. Because we are talking about containment data, which I think is one of the most hardest to get. Number two, we are talking about enabling environment, which we can get through key informant interviews, focus group discussions, then discussions with the municipalities, etc. So those are more structured, unstructured interviews. Yes. Yes, containment assessment, yes. Smart devices. Fund, I think that's a very valid one, is fund. Data is always an overhead. So how can we, I think this is something I will leave you with, is how can we embed data in our daily business processes? How can we get data? How can we take data that is there? For example, property tax. That is a data source that is done every 3 years, 4 years in India, in other countries as well. How can we take that data? Can we add a couple of, parameters when they collect? So I think those are things that we need to think of when we think of doing these tools, these data, how are the data flows happening? How can we sustain the data flows? So with that, I think I will stop, and any questions, please go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Rathi, for that elaborative talk, explanation, and engaging our participants. Thank you so much. The floor remains open for questions, although we have shut up with our timing. Yeah. But still, if there are still any questions, I would keep it open. The floor remains open if you have.
I think there was another here, research via quantitative questionnaire in target communities and access in government, public and private data. Yeah, I think very important here is what is your focus? What is your priority, right? And how do we focus on that? So different projects might have, but I think very important to look at a citywide lens and not only infrastructure, the enabling environment as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Any other questions, participants? If not, then we conclude our session. Thank you so much